It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, November 17th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Billy, the tree huggers have had enough. With the Sierra Club, at least. 60% drop in its more than 4 million members and supporters. It reached a high in 2019. It's now gone through 3 rounds of employee layoffs and is trying to climb out of a $40 million projected budget deficit. What has happened? And I want to hear from our Colorado tree huggers. Because part of this story in the New York Times has to do with Colorado members of the Sierra Club. But bottom line, the Sierra Club went too woke. We'll get into all of this and more. It's a fascinating story. And what is happening to the environmentalist movement in light of the power needs for AI? That's part of the story as well. That kind of, let's go shut down all the coal power plants. Well, kind of need that power if you want your Chat GPT friend. We'll get to this and more. Now it's time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Monday morning, 43 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 58 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, the FAA lifting its flight reduction order at DIA and at airports nationwide. A reduction in flights at dozens of major airports began a week ago to help address fatigue and staffing issues among air traffic controllers. DJT now says that House Republicans should vote yes when it comes to releasing the Epstein files. He says there's nothing to hide. The House expected to vote tomorrow on a measure that would force the DOJ to release all of the files related to the late sex offender. Mile High Stadium tied at 19 on Sunday. Just under 4 minutes to play. Chiefs at the Broncos. Jaquan McMillan storming in from the right side.
Barely beat the play clock. Here comes the blitz, and they got him back at the 14. It's McMillan for the second time in this game.
Man, he had a huge game. The Chiefs had to punt. The Broncos then drive down the field, and they needed a big play here.
Here's Nix on 2nd and 8. Going for a big throw, and it's caught by Franklin.
That was a huge catch. Positioned his body, threw it inside, Bo Nix did, and he made the play, and that helped set up this with 3 seconds to play.
5 yards, Will Lutz. He's already made 4 today. Lutz in the clutch, and the Broncos have won it.
Broncos win it 22-19. They have won 8 straight. They lead the AFC West at 9-2. Jaquan McMillan, 2 sacks and 1 interception.
We knew we needed to make a play, like you said, and I knew it was going to be one of us. And VJ just so happened to call the right play, for me. I kind of timed it up well off Mahomes' hands, and I went in there and made a play on him. And the offense went in there, did their job, drove downfield. Troy had a great catch. We wound the time down, and Lutz, he made a kick, and we won the game.
There you go, and head coach Sean Payton.
Their early start, first 15 type team, and I felt like, aside from some of the penalties, we did a good job in all 3 phases.
And the Broncos get ready for Washington. They'll celebrate for a day. Yes, sir.
Did you see the halftime interview with the woman that was on the field? She did Andy Reid before halftime, and then did Sean Payton after halftime on TV. And she was kind of like, hey, your team's not doing that well. He's like, no. He's like, we're doing just fine. He said, we're holding them from scoring. Our offense is going to be okay. Everything's going to click, and we are just going to continue doing what we know can win, kind of a thing. It was interesting to see. You don't often hear those hear the head coaches during those interviews. Well, during the interviews, push back on the reporter. Because the reporter was drawing a conclusion inside of the question. And he's like, no. He's like, no, we're fine. We are just fine. Because she's like, ooh. Yeah, he's like, ooh, Sean, you got some questions. What's going to happen second half? And he's like, no. He goes, we're fine. He goes, this is exactly what we needed. And he also talked about, this is kind of funny, he threw it in there.
Now, this is Peyton, right?
Yeah, this is Sean Payton,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And Peyton threw in the idea. He goes, we think that KC's a first-half team anyway. Yeah.
Oh,
and so I was like,
that is interesting.
I was like, wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't see a lot
doubt.
of that honesty. And again, whether or not he's right or wrong doesn't matter, but he literally, I just don't see that with the coach going, hey, interview person. No.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing, and we're doing it right, and everything's going to work out in the end. And turned out he was right. Who knows? But still,
great point.
I just thought that was interesting. It was that moment.
I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. It was also
and also, guess what? Just ask the question. Don't answer it for me.
Yes, don't set it up with here's my premise and then no.
Yeah.
Here's the other part is the highlight that you played earlier. That's the one I was talking about when Patrick Mahomes is like, my head.
Yeah.
He touched me in my pretty head. Yes.
That was the play. You're right.
That was the play. And you're like, stop whining, you big baby.
Can we
there's
also
no
talk about, too, how Sean Payton got a penalty?
Yeah, you should have.
we
Get
should do
your
that.
butt off the sidelines. You're supposed to get back. You got to let the officials do their job.
There was that one coach for the Chargers that I used to have a guy dedicated to pulling him back. Does Sean Payton not have that?
Everybody has a get back coach. Everybody.
And their job is to grab.
Get back at every level of football. Get back. And I don't. On that one, I didn't.
How much does that pay? I could be a get back.
Get
coach.
back? Oh, you definitely could.
What's your
You'd
job?
be a
I just get people to get back.
Get the players and the coaches back. Get back.
It's like the person that's responsible for the cord. You see that all the time.
Yes.
The person that's responsible for the cord on the headset.
Bill and Blake. We could have so much fun creating like a school. A training school for the get back coach.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, typically it's a lot of times. I mean, it used to be someone who wasn't on the payroll or whatever. But
wonder why that is.
Or
because then you can't fire him.
Exactly.
Yes.
or someone in the strength and conditioning program who's that's what his job is on game day. But yeah, I mean, you have to have it. On that one, I was watching it though, and I was like, I think Peyton knew that official was in the area. I think he wanted to mess with him, And I think the official wanted to do the same with Peyton.
Yeah.
But you got to, man, those officials, they're sprinting up and down if they're doing their job right, which, typically they are. And they're sprinting, or at least trying to sprint, and they're running, and their eyes are on the field. They have to be on the field, and you have to give them room. That's why it drives me nuts, man. Photographers, if they're not behind the hash marked area for photographers on the sidelines and reporters, and especially when it gets into college and high school, man, get back. You need to get back 5 yards, at least 6, 7, 8. You're going to get bowled over. You're going to get injured, and it's going to be an ugly scene. I'm surprised we haven't had more serious injuries in the past with the knuckleheads that are on the sidelines. You got and we were always taught, on the sidelines. You're always coached this. Don't lock your knees. Make sure your knees are bent on the sidelines, because if you're not paying attention in one time, and a 300-pounder somehow is has momentum and headed your way, and you're not paying attention for 1 second, you're done.
Oh yeah. There is a highlight. Now it's a soccer highlight from years ago. And it has to do with a shot that misses the goal and is streaking into the fans. And it often appears in memes because you see this group of people, and there's like 6 or 7 people around, and you can see where the ball's going. And all of them except for the young woman in the center is paying attention. And everybody else is like, and she's obvious, and she's looking off to the side, kind of like, after the game, I got to do this and maybe I'll reorganize my closet, and just pow! Right in the face. And everybody else saw it coming except for her. And that's what I keep thinking about on the sidelines. That's why you've got to keep your eyes open, because, that can happen. Yeah.
Yes.
Do not get distracted. Yeah.
No doubt about it. So, he had to throw the flag. I mean, that's a rule. So, and believe it or not, most coaches don't like the officials. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that one. And on a side note, there was we talked about Sean Payton getting a flag. On a side note, the U.S. men's national team was doing a qualifying game against Paraguay this weekend, and a fight erupted on the sidelines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so a couple people got.
Oh, man, I want to see one of those.
It was kind of what happened was that it was late in the game. Paraguay was trying to push to get possession because they wanted to have an equalizer. U.S. is up 2-1, and the ball goes out, and it's a U.S. throw-in, except the Paraguayan guy goes over and tries to take it out of the hands of the U.S. guy. Kind of a thing. They're arguing. They're fighting over the ball, and the Paraguay guy actually wraps his hands around the U.S. player and hangs on to him, and that's when things got chippy. And and so both benches run over, and people start throwing punches and stuff like that. So
nice.
I know.
I want to see that one.
Yeah.
What was it, a 5'8" guy and a 5'3" guy?
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Yeah, but the nice part is, at least when they're swinging, at least they understand you're not wearing a helmet. So at least they're
right.
Yeah, and
exactly.
There was one guy that got red carded because he kind of slyly comes in and he kicks someone as he comes running in. You're like,
great.
At least he didn't swing. But I'm like, he was trying to get out of the but it's like, come on, guys.
I want to see. You got to text me that one.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it for you.
I need to see that.
It's kind of funny.
Shedeur Sanders makes his NFL debut after Dylan Gabriel knocked out of the game. Concussion for the Browns. Shedeur was 4 of 16, 47 yards, 1 INT. His offensive line, but he wasn't able to win the game. The Ravens beat the Browns, and they are now 500, Baltimore. Last night, DJT says he's doing what he can to help with health care costs and blow up Obamacare.
Why don't we just pay this money directly to the people of our country and let them buy their own health insurance? And I made that statement, and I made it a little bit cavalierly, but it sounded good. And everybody has picked up, including Democrats. And I am talking to some Democrats right now about doing that. People love it. We're going to take the money. Well, if it gets approved, we're going to take the money. We're going to pay it back to the people of our country to go out and buy health insurance. Now, they can put it in a health account. We can do it a lot of different ways. But they buy their own health insurance. They can negotiate price. And it's going to be locked so they can't go out and buy a Cadillac.
What do you think, Jeff?
So anytime the government subsidizes anything, it artificially adjusts the price of it, okay? And in this case, while this is, yes, definitely better than just sending it to insurance companies, it's still going to prop up the costs of health insurance and make it more expensive for everybody. I'm sorry. It just is. I'm a free market guy. You have to have competition. And when you send money, whether it's to education or housing or SNAP or whatever it is, when you do that, you artificially push up the cost of it. It gets more expensive, and it's not going to actually address the problem. I'm sorry. I just disagree with the president on this one.
Gotcha. What a mess.
For me, his suggestion is just to set up the Affordable Care Act, but change the name. Because what he's talking about is he's not going to send American families a check. It's going to be money or some sort of a credit that will be specifically designated, is what the White House has talked about. Something that would be specifically designated to only be used on health care. So that would be some sort of a credit, a voucher, something like that. And then you would have to create some sort of a marketplace or a way for individuals to be able to research that. Because remember that the vast majority of Americans don't choose their health insurance on an open market. So you'd have to create a health exchange and then use healthcare credits. And now we're back to Obamacare. And that's the only problem. It's functionally it's the same thing.
Guys, do you remember when we got the the Inflation Reduction Act check or the stimulus check or whatever it was.
Unfortunately.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, guys, we've lived through this, okay? We got a nice, big, hefty check from the government, and what happened to inflation? Mm-hmm. It skyrocketed.
It soared, didn't it?
It soared, okay? It is the fastest way to drive costs up on everything is to just have this is why I disagree with Trump sending out the little tariff checks, too.
Yeah, that'll never happen, though.
Okay? It's a terrible idea that's going to result in everything becoming more expensive. Anytime. Here is Jeff Hunt's Econ 101. Anytime the government sends you a check, things are going to get more expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
With maybe the exception of the Tabor check, which is just a tax refund. But when the government sends you money, it's a trap.
Yeah. Well, technically, the tariff refund would be a tax refund as well.
Golly,
in theory, it'd be almost the same thing.
I don't think it's going to work.
It won't because the money's not there. They can't do the math. If you look at the number of Americans that he's talking about sending tariff checks to versus the amount of money that's in the tariff account, he doesn't have enough. Just simply to send us all a $2,000 check, that money doesn't exist. And then also remember, he's promised tariff relief. That tariff money is also going to farmers. It's going to schools. He has a long list of other groups that he is that he's promised that tariff money for. But remember, when he talks about the tariff check, remember that there was one thing that was very, very important on that one, that high earners were not going to get it. Mm-hmm. Just remember that. Just remember that when we talk tax policy, etc., that Donald Trump is talking about taking the large pool of money and then redistributing it to lower income
exactly
people.
What it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. So just remember that he's pushing
Don't like
this.
that.
So he's pushing this. The other one, the other part inside of this that I'm somewhat worried about is we're trying to fix healthcare, and Jeff, you talked about it, that you need competition and free market, etc.
Correct.
But our healthcare system is not a free market in any way, shape, or form. And that's the problem. We cannot and will not get typical free market pressures on the system the way it is set up. Because
this is where you and I disagree.
It simply can't function that way.
Yes, it can.
No, not right now.
Yes, it can. It has no transparency.
So what?
The most wild. So what?
Yeah, and this is what I mean by that.
So what?
Yeah,
that is the chief reason the cost of your health care is so much. It's because there's no transparency.
Well, hang on a sec. Let's say that you got full transparency on what your cost was paid, and then you're going to do what based on the current health plan that you have?
Shop around.
How? Because you receive a subsidy from your employer. How are you going to shop around? Are you? Because what I'm saying is this: if you want to shop around, that's fine.
Yeah,
but realize,
I know what you're saying, but you're continuing to push us down this road of single payer.
No, I'm not.
The only thing at the end of your road, Bill Thorpe, is single payer government-run healthcare, which is not transparent, has no competition, and as a result, the quality sucks.
No, what I'm pushing back on is the idea that we can have free market or capitalistic pressures on the current system, the way it's set up. Because even if you got...
I agree with that. The way the current system is set up.
That's my argument. We have to break the system.
Yes, 100%.
We have to.
Yeah.
And that would be a completely and totally remodeling of the system. And unfortunately, both parties would have to play along. And that's where this entire plan is going to fail, is because Democrats and Republicans will never agree on any sort of a moderate plan in order to remake it, because until, as you said, Jeff, until the individual consumer feels price pressure through that transparency, nothing can change. And what I mean by, and I understand you could be pushing back and saying, hey, so what if you get transparency? If you get your insurance through your employer, you can't do anything about it. You can't go out and shop for something else. You could, but then that entire cost is on you, and you're giving up the subsidy of the health care that your employer gives you. So that's why you're never going to get free market pressure to lower costs in our current system.
And I think what we're experiencing right now is exactly what happens when you limit choice and you have no transparency, right? Like, Bill, you and I are going through open enrollment right now.
Yes.
Sat down with my wife, walked through. We had two options.
Yep, two options.
Two options.
Yeah, the cheap option or the regular option. That's it.
Right?
It was basically either buy the regular meal or buy the value meal. That's basically
all right. So I've got 4 kids, and the Lord has not blessed us with good, like natural teeth.
Yeah.
Right? It's like one of the curses that I have
Oh,
is
yeah.
that if there's something I brush, I floss, I water pick, I do it all, right? I put fluoride. I've never missed an appointment. I go in 3 times a year for cleanings, and I still have problems. So dental is a big problem. So we decided to go look elsewhere for dental.
Yeah.
And we were shopping and had different options, which was nice, which is actually going to reduce the cost on our family. We're going to have to pay a little bit more per month, but we were maxing out super quick. So with dental, I'm allowed to have a little bit of choice there, which is going to benefit our family. Healthcare? No, I get 2 options.
Yeah.
Right.
And understand that option that you chose for
guys,
dental increased your monthly cost. And that's the problem with
Yes,
having the
it
healthcare
did.
subsidized by the employer is you don't really directly have that cost. Because if you had to pay the full cost with what our company dental is and the program you have right now, the program you have right now might actually be less, which would be crazy. Have better coverage and pay less.
We are experiencing right now the result of either tying it entirely to employees or having government. That's it. And I think everyone's looking at the fact that we have such little choice and the quality's going down, and it just seems to be getting more expensive. But the end of this road that the Democrats are proposing is just ongoing subsidies over and over and over again. Obamacare was a total failure. But, Bill, I agree with you in the sense it's going to require a complete overhaul of the system.
And that's why we're screwed. That is exactly why we're screwed.
That's right. Yeah, and it goes on and on.
Yes.
And on.
Exactly.
It just never ends.
Never will.
Oh, God. 41 in Westminster, 42 in Parker, 43 in Denver. How about we just stop giving other countries money? How about that? And then maybe we can take care of everybody here. You're waking up with Jeff and Bill on a Monday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 KNUS forecast on this early Monday. Cloudy skies with temperatures right around 40 degrees by daybreak. For the rest of your Monday, could see some showers this morning before lunchtime, then becoming mostly sunny, highs near 60, overnight lows in the lower 30s. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Bill, this piece in the New York Times was fascinating to me because I've been wondering what has happened to the environmentalists out there, the global warmists running around going, the sky's falling, the sky's falling. The Sierra Club has embraced social justice, then it tore itself apart from the headline. That's the headline from the New York Times about the Sierra Club, which I thought was interesting. So they embraced total wokeism. I mean, not just, and if you need a reminder, a refresher on this, the Sierra Club was kind of like they're up there with Greenpeace as like the chief environmentalist lobby fighting against big oil and corporate greed and protecting the little owls that live in your forest, those types of things. Founded by John Muir, who, if you're a mountaineer, John Muir is a great environmentalist and protectionist and helped establish some of the forests and national parks that we all love. Well, the Sierra Club has lost 60%, Bill, of its membership.
That's insane.
60%. And it's a combination of a number of things, okay? One, going full woke. Listen to this. This is one of the board members or the directors of the Sierra Club, okay? They had 2 full-time employees working on Trump's war on the Arctic refuge and 108 working on DEI. 108 employees working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they want big on that, talking about, changing language and working through all of that stuff within the company itself. But then they started working on social justice, race-based issues, economic, socialist issues, and the Sierra Club lost its way. So that's one of the problems they had. Two is they paid everybody a living wage. So they kind of went above and beyond the minimum wage, started paying everybody. And as a result, they've had to go through a whole series of layoffs. They are at 3 rounds of layoffs. They're $40 million in debt. They reached their peak in 2019, so when they kind of went on coal. And that gets to the third problem, is that kind of running into a brick wall when you want to have AI and you're relying on windmills to provide the power for it. So they built this big beyond coal effort in 2019, an effort to shut down every single coal plant in the entire country. And they've achieved in getting 50% of them shut down. And then AI appeared on the horizon, and you can't, like I mentioned, power AI off of windmills and solar. So you need coal around that. So it's become this perfect storm. But I also wonder, too, if some of the fear of the environmentalists has just kind of run out of steam, in the sense that, I mean, we were all around with Al Gore saying that the Arctic caps were all going to melt and that we're on the precipice of massive global warming, and life just kind of continued. We've seen weather patterns. Well, are Americans concerned about global warming the same way they used to be? Are they concerned about the environmentalist movement? Or is it this that they got so distracted with other stuff like DEI that people lost interest in the Sierra Club?
I think it's a couple of different things. One, I like the idea that you talk about the Sierra Club getting distracted. They veered outside of their core mission, and history is replete with private organizations, and I'm talking about like consumer companies that make stuff, that turn around and introduce new products to the market, and those products fail because it is outside of what their usual product is. And I feel that's what the Sierra Club, they made that classical mistake where they decided we do this very, very, very well. Why can't we do lots of other things very, very well? Not understanding where the guardrails were. And this happens to large corporations and small ones, not only as far as introducing products, but even expanding into new places or markets in which you don't really find a foothold. What is it? Walmart had a real problem getting into Germany, and Home Depot was rejected by China based on the model that they brought into the country. So they were trying to expand beyond what they were doing, and there are a whole bunch of things. I'm always reminded of Levi's. Levi's tried to get into formal wear at one point. That didn't work out so well. So that's what I see in this.
Here's one of my favorite lines in this entire article. Palestine is an environmental issue.
Oh, no.
And then what it ended up doing was splitting. So like Bloomberg was one of their big donors.
Yeah.
And as you can guess, Bloomberg probably not in the pro-Palestinian camp.
Probably not.
And so they're running out there. Sierra Club runs out there and starts saying, well, like, yes, the Israel-Palestine issue is an environmental issue, which it isn't. And then they stopped taking tours to Israel to look at what they were doing environmentally, and then that split the progressive movement into the kind of, so like the Israel-Palestine, but this go woke, go broke, where everything falls under a justice banner. It's not just environmental, but it's racial, it's economic, it's Israel, it's Palestine, it's all that. And people are just like, what? I think at one point they talk about how there's like 126 petitions. No, 131 petitions that are on their website right now, including for stuff that's no longer relevant, like calls to support clean energy funding that Mr. Trump has already gutted, and to support the voting rights bill that died in 2023. Voting rights bill.
Yeah, that's outside of what they need to do. And see, the thing is, I disagree with the bromide of go woke, go broke. I think that is a fun tagline that people tell each other to say, look, all these progressive and liberals, and when you do that with a company, it doesn't work. And I think that's been disproven. There are some companies that have struggled with it, but there are other companies that have done just fine. So I don't think that it's necessarily that the Sierra Club went woke, because they've always been environmental champions. And I would say on the continuum of things, we probably would put that on the wokey wokeness side. If we were just going back 5 years from now and talked about environmental concerns, we absolutely would put that in my mind on the woke side of things. The problem for me is they expanded way beyond their brand. They were both Samsonite and Levi's who decided they can make formal wear outerwear. There was a point in this country where Colgate decided to make kitchen food that you can heat up in your kitchen, like, the things like Lunchables and TV dinners from Colgate, the people that make the toothpaste. Those didn't do so well. That's what I see in what Sierra Club did. They went outside of what their core mission is, and they diluted it.
Defunding the police, reparations for slavery.
They diluted their core message and hurt their brand because of it. And the one thing we can find is that many, many, many companies have phenomenal success doing one, two, or several things well. But when they try to do everything well, they fail. And that's exactly what the Sierra Club did.
I think that's just one aspect of it. What happened to the old sky is falling, Chicken Little, we're all going to be burning alive if we don't embrace these radical environmental policies in the next few years? It seems like the energy's gone.
Well, here's the thing is, one is I disagree with the idea that we're all going to be burning, because that was always a longer term thing. And the other idea that it being necessarily radical, because some of these policies I don't necessarily view as radical per se. And I think that's more of a perception. The problem that we have is talking about environmental changes and seeing that direct impact doesn't happen on a day-to-day basis, on a month-to-month basis, or even on a year-to-year basis. Part of, and you choose the news, part of the reason that the Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, is worried about the number of sports inside of the Winter Olympics is because, again, they only think there are going to be 10 countries that will have enough snowpack annually in order to host the Olympics. And that's part because of climate change. And what they mean by that is they need to be able to, years and years in advance, anticipate with some regularity the amount of snowpack that location is going to see, because these things are awarded years in advance. So you've got to be able to game plan 5, 6, 10, 15 years out. And so that's what they're looking at. So they're seeing that. And we are seeing, certain types of storms in certain areas. Weather patterns are changing. So we have seen that. But the direct impact as to you and I over the course of a day-to-day, month-to-month, or year-to-year basis is somewhat minimal. So in our everyday lives, most humans don't see it as necessarily a danger.
I don't think people buy it anymore. And I think in part because of the hypocrisy of all the elites that were claiming that you flying in your jet somewhere was going to damage this earth. Meanwhile, they got on private jets and flew everywhere.
Oh, yeah. That's again,
it was like, you don't really believe this. And so people just discount it.
Well, some of their, and that behavior absolutely hurts their standing, because if they say that this behavior is bad and then they don't follow through on it, in my mind, they reduce their ability as an authority to speak on it. As much as many people that listen to this show do not like Greta Thunberg, at least sometimes she travels by sailboat. I mean, I think that she is.
How dare you?
But again, as much fun as you make fun of her, you know what she's not doing? Flying private jets. She's not doing the stuff that the Richie Rich guys are doing all over the place and then crying crocodile tears about environmentalism. There's a point where even if you disagree with her, you have to respect the fact that at least she does walk the walk. You can totally disagree with her point of view. You can think she's wrong, but at least she's not hopping on a private jet going from location to location in order to talk about the dangers of climate change, especially from things coming out of the back end of the plane.
Leonardo DiCaprio. All right, so here's the question that I have. I think it's a combination of factors, but I think a big part of it is people just don't buy the baloney that's being sold by the environmental lobby anymore. That that the Earth's going to end in the next few years if we don't make radical changes and eat bugs and live with candles and all that stuff. I just don't think people buy it. And I think that's part of the reason why you don't see the fight against Trump on some of the environmental stuff anymore. People got other concerns, like government-run healthcare. But give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Speaking of Danny C., I adore this guy. People all throughout Colorado trust him because for the last 40 years, Dan Caplis has been delivering justice for Colorado families. If you've been hurt in an injury case, you need to hire Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Well, is the environmentalist movement dying? The Sierra Club embraced social justice. It got distracted. It tore itself apart. $40 million in debt. Have lost 60% of its 4 million members that it reached the peak of in 2019. And I also think, and part of it is people are just done buying into the baloney of the environmentalist hoax of man-made global warming. I was always kind of a fan of Bjorn Lomborg, who approached all of this as kind of a researcher and economist and said, look, fossil fuels is the cheapest, easiest, and fastest way to get out of poverty. And that's why you never see countries like China and India, Pakistan, and others buy into these climate accords, because the only people doing it are wealthy countries that used fossil fuels to get wealthy. They're the only ones buying into it. They have the luxury of believing windmills are going to solve all their problems. But if you're poor and living in China, no, coal, gasoline, and natural gas is what's going to get you out of poverty.
I always found that interesting because Lomborg is right about the motivations for fossil fuel, but it doesn't necessarily disprove the idea behind the CO2 and the global warming. His argument, to my mind, is none of the poorer countries are going to follow this, so it is a fool's errand, which there is some merit to that. But what it doesn't do is disprove the climate science. It just says you're not going to get everybody on board, so don't bother trying, because it's basically Sisyphean. Basically, you're pushing the boulder up the hill, it's just going to roll back down anyway. That's kind of, it doesn't disprove the fact that climate science did accurately predict some of this stuff.
I disagree. I think and there's other aspects of Bjorn's work that has showcased that are figuring this out is going to be engineering, not a rejection of cheap and abundant fossil fuels, and embracing solar and wind, which don't provide the energy needed to function in society. It's almost regressive. It's sabotaging your own country's future on a lie, basically. Suzanne, though, saying, look, the NRDC is flush with cash. It's doing great work. People still passionate. I just don't see the passion I did 10 years ago on this stuff. I think, well, in part, some generations have bought into it. You have young people not wanting to have kids because they're afraid of the impact it might have on the climate, which is the dumbest thing. Those are some of the aspects where I think Darwin's rules of evolution or theories of evolution may be actually true, because dumb people aren't having kids because they're afraid that it may affect the environment. Good night. Do we have a phone call?
No, they had something else. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. They were commenting on something else.
Yeah, something else. Yeah.
That's your
okay.
warranty.
It happens a lot, yeah.
That's your extended warranty.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
I get
feel
those.
free to join the conversation. I just don't see it. I don't see the energy. I don't see the excitement and the passion around global warming that I did 10 years ago. And I think it's in part because people just found out that it's full of crap.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a lot of that climate science has been proven to be true. It's just on the long arc is part of the problem. The idea that you're telling someone that the heat around the planet is going to go up 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees. Well, that happens inside of our climate all the time, and they don't understand the impact of what that means around the rest of the world. And that's part of the problem is, one, I believe the climate science was sold as too much doom and gloom as far as this is going to happen and there's no way we can go back. But then it's been it's a slow burn, and that's part of the issue. Is you don't necessarily view it as being a danger until it's right near you. And we can talk about people that ran through the Marshall Fire here in Colorado. When it is miles from you, it's not a big deal. But when that burn comes close and is a block away, now all of a sudden you're paying attention. And that's part of the issue in this, I think.
Bill, what do you think, too, about the fact that I think Democrats had to come to terms with the fact that wind and solar is not going to provide the energy needed for AI?
Well, I think, again, wind and solar, this was the problem that I think the environmentalists had, was the full replacement of fossil fuels. That, to me, is a pipe dream because of all the variety of things oil and gas can help with that are even outside of energy. And so I thought that was a fool's errand. I've been very clear on this show that for me, the argument is that's how you decouple yourself from the international energy market, and then you play when you want to. It's the idea of if we were more sufficient on wind and solar, it allows us to walk into the stock market as if you've already made your millions, and you can decide where you want to play. You can decide when we want to get more money out of our oil, when we don't want to, when we want to do certain things. So for me, it is a supplement. But I do think that we are going to need wind and solar if we're talking about the energy needs that we are going to need as far as AI, because we can't build coal power plants, refineries, and substations quickly enough. That has to be part of the issue. We did a thing on You Choose the News a couple of weeks ago, how some data centers in the U.S. are using old retired aircraft engines as generators simply because the local power grid cannot on its own produce enough energy. That has very little to do with fossil fuels, very little to do with wind, very little to do with energy as a whole, but it just has to do with, what we can produce. And so I would submit and say, if we're going to let go of wind and solar, why would we let go of any opportunity to make any extra energy based on what we're going to need for AI?
I got one word for you all. Nuclear. It's coming because our society is going to need it. All right, we'll continue. Phone lines are hot. We'll get to those next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. The headline coming from the New York Times. The Sierra Club embraced social justice, then it tore itself apart. Has lost 60% of its members. It's $40 million in debt. And people are complaining it just got too big in what it tried to take on. It got into the Palestinian-Israel issue. It sought reparations. Just defund the police, all that stuff. It got kind of confused. It's got 131 petitions you can sign right now. And so people are like, go save the
reminds me of the time that
owl.
Lifesavers decided to introduce a soda. That worked out well. They just got outside their brand. Not a good thing. Bad things happen when you go outside your brand.
But I also think, too, people just aren't believing all the scare tactics that came with the environmentalist movement, that if you didn't start eating bugs and live with just candles, that the world was going to end. Let's go to the phone lines. Ben and Morrison. Good morning, Ben. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Yeah, morning. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. It sounds like Sierra Club basically just got outside of their purview, and you see organizations do this from time to time, but they're definitely not wrong on the science behind it on global warming. I mean, if you have a basic level of understanding of how this stuff works, like this isn't made up. It isn't some far-fetched idea. It is happening. We have the data. We have all the information to back it up. It's long-term.
Ben, how do you change your life to prevent this terrible global warming from happening?
See, that's one of the complications on this is as an individual, there's not a ton you can do. It has to be a societal means. And some of the bigger things, I don't know, that you can do individually are things like eating less meat or, I don't know, switching to more efficient cars. But I mean, that's just a small little dent in the thing.
But don't you think that gives people a sense of hopelessness on all this? Like you see some young people going, I'm not going to have kids because I'm afraid of what it might do to the environment.
I don't know anybody that's really doing that. I hear people make that argument, but I don't know anybody in reality that's actually doing that. I haven't ever met a single person that's said they're not going to have kids because they're worried about the environment. But the reality is that it is happening. That's not a hoax. We have all the data to prove that, Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you guys, the environmentalists, wrap themselves up with doom and gloom. It's not happening, and they live like hypocrites, and people just didn't buy it. I think people are moving on. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is 710 KNUS.